Yeah, it's exciting.
Meeting of City of Valley Center Council, City Council for July 6, 2021 is now in session. Roll call.
Mayor Cicerillo.
Here.
Councilmember Stam.
Here.
Councilmember Evans. Councilmember Davis. Councilmember Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Gregory. Here. Councilmember Kerstetter.
Here.
Councilmember Wilson.
Here.
Councilmember Colbert.
Here. Do we hit, oh, there he is. Please rise and join me in the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. God, thank you so much for today. We're so grateful for this past weekend where we celebrate our nation's freedom. Lord, it's just awesome to be able to live in a country where we have the freedom we experience. But Lord, we also recognize the freedom that you provide us through your Son, Jesus Christ. I pray that tonight that you would be with these leaders as we make decisions and as we continue to seek you through those decisions. God, I pray that the best foot will be taken to move forward. And we're so grateful to live in a town where it's leaders and everyone cares. And so, God, we're so grateful for that. And thank you so much for all you do. And it's your name we pray tonight. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries. Item 6, administration agenda, the City Council meeting minutes of June 15th. Oh, sorry, Dale Kerstetter had a,
Oh, just spelling error on the minutes.
okay, well.
I was going to let you finish.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, yeah, it's okay. All right, we will do the minutes. And Councilmember Kerstetter.
Under my section, Bud Daubers is misspelled. Page 9. Yep.
Move to approve the minutes as corrected.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the minutes as amended. Any other discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries. All right. We have no presentations or proclamations. So we will move on to the public forum. This is the time that we have set aside at every meeting for any member of the public that would like to speak to an item that is not on the agenda. All righty, seeing none, we will move on to appointments. I do have one appointment to make. It is for the Valley Center Rec Commission, and it's Travis Bryant. Travis is the owner of Valley Offset. So it was recommended by the rec. Yeah, I can't think of his name right now. I just blew him. But by the Rec Commission, the Councilmember Kerstetter.
Was he the one that presented for the tower design?
No.
No, different guy? Okay.
Yeah.
No, he was not. That was Chris, who actually is a designer
Okay.
that works for Valley Offset. But yes, he's been a very active member in the community and owns a local business.
Okay.
So do I have a motion?
I move to approve the appointment as recommended.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries. Thank you. All right. No committees and commission reports. We'll move on to old business. Adoption of the 2021 City of Valley Center Strategic Plan.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Well, we started this process way back at the end of 2019 in selecting a firm, and we're finally arrived at the meeting tonight. We are recommending approval of the 2021 City of Valley Center Strategic Plan. As you know, you were emailed a digital copy of this last week, and then you have a hard copy. Those are for you to keep at your desks this evening. And we are recommending approval. All of the final modifications and revisions have been made. Before we ask for the motion, would like to turn it over to Mr. Smith, who is going to show us something fascinating on the website, a way that we're going to be able to track progress on a new dashboard on the city's website. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Smith.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So recently added to the website under the government section and under Mayor and Council is our Valley Center strategic plan. So similar to the budget dashboard and the CIP dashboard, this one now encompasses our entire strategic plan that we're approving this evening. On the front page here are the 5 goals of our strategic plan: economic diversity, community spaces, listen and engage, housing, and then finishing it off with efficient public facilities. Kind of hard to find an icon for that one, but these are all default icons in PowerPoint, so we won't get sued or anything. We're good to go there. On the front page here, if you do want to see the plan in the PDF format, it links right here. And as you go through the plan and under each goal, there are objectives, strategies, and then action items for each of these goals. So if we go in here, the plan, and we click on like community spaces, it'll pop up here with the goal. Down here is the objective 1 for this section, the strategy, and then the action item that corresponds to that objective and strategy. And if you keep going down, it shows objective 2 and objective 3 with the respective action items on each side. So this is how we're going to track this. We'll be able to keep up to date rather than pulling out a binder with finished documents in it to track it that way. This will be an interactive process for everyone and much easier to do. For example, when you click on any of these action items, these items to the right will change. So our completion goal for this one will be 2021. In this section here, it's either going to pop up with a metric or a goal. The metric is what we're measuring to measure our performance. The goal on this one, it just says completion. Once we complete this item, it'll be available for review. So for example, if you click on complete water treatment study, this item over here changes to click for the final result and click that, and it just brings up the water treatment study. So now as we go through finished items, we can just pull them right up and track our progress right there.
Nice.
So at any point, you can just go back to the home page. So for example, on listen and engage, one of our items here is to evaluate communication methods that proved successful during the pandemic. Well, for this one, you'll see the measure over here corresponds to the goal, listen and engage, and then the action item in the plan, the 1.1 point B. And you notice this box down here now says right-click the metric and drill through. So if we right-click the metric, drill through to that item, it pops up data that we've been using for our website, our Facebook, and our now newly created city app. So like down here in the right corner, it shows number of downloads per month on the total. We'll track that. Up here is our total website visits over time. Here's all of our Facebook likes, and it's growing over time here. So these methods are proving that they're working, but we'll continue to track those. And as similar to the budget dashboard, you can click on the little drill down arrow, and you can drill in per year on each of these and see which part of the year, which quarter we had the most visits, most highlights. For example, in 2020 on the website, July was an extremely high month. Well, what happened in July? We had the water tower. Oh, no, June, sorry, not July, June, my bad. Also, our Facebook posts receiving the most reactions, also the water tower. Same thing in 20, you can track our Facebook reach. This is how many individual people saw something on our Facebook page throughout the year. In 2020, we had just over 290,000 views of our content on Facebook. And drill down through there as well. See the first quarter is the highest. March is pretty high. And that corresponded to Sasquatch getting accosted there in the park. So sad. Then we can always go back to the homepage here. And then, for example, like our housing section, we can come down here, we can check out the HIP and CHIP program, which is the housing incentive program. Again, you can just click the metric, go through. This will show you how many participants we currently have, how much assessed valuation has been added due to this program through the participants. And then over here on the left side, we'll be able to track the new housing that's coming into town, how many current units we have, and also the utilization of our neighborhood revitalization program. And then these links here in the middle will just link you to, new homes for sale program, or if you're curious about the HIP CHIP program, you can come here and read all about it. Download the application, whatever you want to do. And then if you want anything at a glance, you come back to the home page. You can just click this overall summary. Here shows every action item within the strategic plan. And on the right side, anything yellow is in progress, anything green is completed. So this will update over time as we go through these items, as we update it. And whenever something's done, it'll take 5 minutes to get in there. It'll refresh and upload straight to the website. So it'll be current at all times. Down here at the bottom, just go back to the home page. I know that's quick, but any questions?
No, I'm just amazed as usual.
Awesome.
Councilmember Kerstetter does have a question.
I like it a lot, but can you show me one more time how you got to this screen?
Oh, to the screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You went to government and then,
So just go to homepage, government, and it's right under mayor and council, under the
Okay.
strategic plan.
okay,
Pops right up.
thank you.
No problem. And that's all for that.
This is going to make life so much easier in the future. I mean, I'm thinking back on all the times that we go discuss things and we got to dig out all this old paper, and it's, again, flabbergasted, amazed, excruciatingly happy of what you've done and totally appreciative. All right, council, if there's no other questions, do we have a motion?
I make a motion to adopt the 2021 City of Valley Center Strategic Plan.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries. Thank you. Item 12, new business, request for ordinance 17.06.01 waiver. Mr. Schreck, you can, if they want to come back in for this, you're more than welcome to have them come back in. They're not being loud. Trust me.
All right, good evening again. Before you this evening is a request of this section of Code 17 is our zoning code section of the municipal code. And as is quoted here, for purposes of living in an RV, someone is allowed in a residentially zoned property to do so for no more than 14 calendar days. The Brillhart family unfortunately suffered a significant fire at their home last year and have been working on rehabbing it, and in the process are living in their RV temporarily until the project is finished, which is expected to be done by August 1st. And so they are asking a waiver of this section of city code, again, section 17, allowing them to reside in their RV on their property until August 1st. The Brillharts will be more than happy to answer any questions or address the council as well. And I stand for any questions also.
Councilmember Kerstetter.
I think this is a no-brainer. We should approve it. However, can we make it August 3rd in case they need to reapproach the council? That way, that's the next council meeting.
It's your motion.
I was
your
actually, since you brought that up, I was actually going to go to the end of August just to be on the safe side, since the problems that were listed in the letter, I think maybe to the first meeting, whatever the first meeting in September is. We'll put it to that date in case they have to come back and ask for another exception.
September 7th.
September 7th. Councilmember Stam?
I'm sorry, I was
Okay.
going to turn mine off.
Okay.
That's what I was going to say. I'd rather give them a little more time because you know how contractors and stuff go. Stuff never works
Yep.
out right.
Yep.
Why
And-
have them come back?
Yeah. And like I said, that way, if it ends on a day of a council meeting and there's still issues, you need to just show up or just ask for an extension. So, all right. So if no other discussion, we don't need to hear from the homeowner, obviously. So is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve waiver of ordinance for the Chase Brill Hart for a period not to exceed September 7th, 2021.
Second.
The motion is second. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. Motion carries. You're all set. Sorry about the fire too. I'm glad you're getting around. And when I read through all that, what you've been going through, it's like, boy, you should have just asked for this back. It'd have been a lot easier on you, but you're all set. Thanks for coming. All right. Item B, comprehensive budget discussion.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, once again. Tonight won't be as comprehensive as last time. I think I just kept the same wording, but tonight we're just doing a quick overview. And first, I want to just start it off with, were there any other budget requests after more time to review that we need to look at again? Alter, I did take out the Christmas tree for now. I think that was a
That's good.
unanimous decision.
I know Neil would be upset, but
We can always reevaluate.
Councilmember Kerstetter.
I like the idea of the Christmas tree. I don't think it's the timing's right now. We have other things we need to take care of, like getting the public safety on that, off of Capers. So,
So yeah, other than that, everything else was still the same. I just threw in a quick highlight of our ending or projected ending fund balances throughout the year. We're well within our 25% fund balance goal in each of these funds. We're in a pretty strong position right now. So the main action in business regarding this tonight is to basically approve to send a notification to Sedgwick County that we intend to exceed the revenue neutral rate and levy the same amount of mills as we did for the 2021 budget, which was the 55.012. That's the motion for the evening.
Question, Council? Councilmember Kerstetter?
you had to know it's coming. So I know we talked about it last time and I forgot to review it. If we don't approve the revenue neutral rate, what will the budget look like? As far as how much over, let me think of a better way to ask this question. So we have a certain mill levy and that is 55. I don't have that number in front of me.
0.012.
Yep. And then if our revenue neutral is lower than that, what's the difference as far as dollar amount if we don't?
So it was that $107,000 amount.
Okay.
And then it breaks down between each taxing fund. So general fund was around 40,000, and then it decreased about 10,000 between employee benefit, bond and interest, and then lower for library and then emergency equipment.
Okay, and then the
107,000 number.
follow-up question to that is the revenue neutral rate, the mill we're leaving the same, which is basically an increase in inflation.
It would be
Because our revenue neutral rate is less than our 55.012. Oh, it's right there, 1.82 mils over.
Right.
Is that approximately about what our inflation would be or less than, or?
I didn't get like an updated rolling average on the CPI that we were using for the tax lid, but it was just over 3%.
So that'd probably
The
be
evaluation
less.
increase.
Okay.
It's pretty similar. I mean, even if we were to go down that road, I would still want to exceed the rate and send this notification to Sedgwick County. This is basically setting our cap
Right.
right now.
Well, and I can see some looking at this as a tax increase because our evaluated taxes went up. Therefore, this is increasing our taxes slightly. So I'm just trying to ask questions. That way I can explain it or attempt to explain it or just send them to Mr. Clark.
It's true. Maybe keep in mind we did end up selling all those land bank lots.
Oh, no, I know.
Building out there. So, I mean, most of it's the new growth, but
Right.
fully understand.
Just asking the questions.
I
I could add something, sorry. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Every year, valuations increase,
Right.
in your home and your properties. But what this does is keep our mill levy the same. And so we're just capturing what that valuation increase that we do not set. That's something that's set, by the county. That's the way it is in, every state for the most part. And so we're just capturing, that valuation increase necessarily then, not capturing the, 55.012 in the mills. Now, every year it changes. I know, my first year, I think mine went up 30,000 for my valuation. And so, yes, I'm going to pay more taxes next year than what I paid this year. But that's the way it works.
And it
That's
doesn't help
way
that
the
the
system is set up to, pay for public safety, public services, and the quality of life that we've all come to accommodate.
Yeah, and my thought was the county redid how they evaluate their section, which is why mine went up a lot. So that's kind of why I'm asking some of these questions.
Absolutely. And I think here in Central County, in Kansas, isn't it, is it every 6 years they try to get around to actually looking and evaluating on each property in Central? Matt, Councilman Stam might know more of that. Central County, when they actually go through and do the full.
Yeah, they don't, I think, well, they actually look at houses and take pictures and that,
Take
right? The
pictures,
rest of
so-
this is,
Yep, they'll catch it if your deck, wasn't filed.
Yeah.
And, things like that.
the rest of this is just based on, as I understand it, when you get these new appraisals, it's based on home sales in your area on homes that are similar size as yours.
Yes.
So
Based on square
it's
footage and.
based on square footage number. Basically, it's mostly square footage. And then whatever improvements, if you put a built-in pool in this year, okay, they're not going to know that. Well, they would, because you filled out a permit, hopefully. So that would add to your appraisal, but that wouldn't necessarily affect your next door neighbors.
And purchase prices, that's why right now with the market the way it is, you are going to see increases in your valuation because houses are selling for, anywhere from 50 to 100,000 more than the market was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So absolutely. But what this does is, allows for us to, capture the same mill levy, which is important.
Right.
And we currently have. So
Like I said, I was just trying to ask questions that I'm
Nope.
anticipating hearing.
oh yeah, we all get them. Every day, when we're walking downtown or, if we're at Dollar General or if we're at Nick's Barbershop. Yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, council?
I have one more statement.
Sure.
I'm glad we're not increasing the mill. We're just keeping it the same.
Is there a motion?
I make a motion to exceed the revenue neutral rate for the 2022 budget.
Second.
The motion is second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. Item C, quick claim deed approval, 5th and Abilene. And you have a copy of this map at your desk to council? Mr.
Yes,
Clark.
good evening, Mayor and Council. I do apologize I didn't have that included in the original packet. This is a quick claim deed for a section of property that the city has owned for, Mr. Eggleston, for a number of years.
We've been doing it since I've been on the council. I didn't even realize that was part of ours back then, so.
I thought
And so if you're like me and you drive by and like, why is that grass taller or shorter than the other? It's because the city actually owns a 26-foot section of that area. And so city staff did discuss and talked with the adjacent property owner, and they're more than happy to take that off our hands so we no longer have to mow and maintain and have that awkward section that the city owns that we're not receiving any property taxes, paying that mill towards.
Questions, council?
Is it? I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Quit or quick?
Quit.
It's a quit claim or quick claim? Okay, because I've seen both QUIT.
Yeah.
Okay. And your email is quick, QICK.
Oh, yeah. This was drafted by our city attorney, Barry Arbuckle. Unfortunately, was not able to attend this evening, but yes, he's the one that prepared this. And apologize if my email was misspelled. It's okay.
Councilmember Colbert.
Yeah, the question I got is, if they sell the house, does that contract still go with the new owner?
Yes, because this will be consolidated into that property
It'll be one total property. Yeah.
once it's filed.
Anybody else?
Motion to approve quit claim deed to R.O. Davis for property located at 5th and Meridian for $1.
Second.
It's in Abilene.
Fifth and Abilene.
I know,
What
it's
did I
wrong.
say?
You said, you read it. the way
I read it. Oh, it's 5th
It's
and
wrong.
Abilene.
Is wrong.
On my thing, it's wrong.
Yeah, the motion, it should be, it on the PDF, it says Fifth and Meridian. Uh-huh.
Clarify
So it's-
5th and Abilene for $1.
Yeah, we don't want to give them that part of the road. Yeah, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries. Thank you very much. We're moving on to item D, South Meridian Roundabout discussion. And I don't see Mr. Golka here. Oh, no, they're letting you do, you're gonna, I thought you looked familiar. I'm like, what? So why don't you go ahead and intro this first, Mr. Clark?
Good evening, Mayor and Council, again. So before you this evening is a discussion regarding a potential roundabout and a road diet. It's funny when the engineers call it road diet. On the Meridian, South Meridian section from basically the train tracks all the way south to our city limits. If you recall, this is a part of a WAMPO project, which does have federal funding that is slated for 2023. While reviewing this and discussing with the county, we did meet with Mr. Jim Weber, the Public Works Director for Central County, as well as the Assistant Public Works Director in Lynn Packard. Since this is a county intersection, so this is a county intersection at 69th and Meridian, we wanted to brainstorm, is now the time to look at upgrading or enhancing this intersection with a roundabout. And so especially with Amazon facility going in right on the corner of basically 69th and Broadway, we felt with the North Junction project and the gold phase taking, probably 10 years, I mean, let's be realistic, that a lot of the employees will be traveling this route. And so in this concept design, you'll kind of see where we have a free right turn lane as you're traveling north. So if you're coming from Wichita and going across the Pink Bridge, you have a free right, and then you'd go into the roundabout. And then at that section there, when you come into the roundabout, would go from potentially down from 4 lanes down to 3 lanes, then as you travel from the roundabout north into the community. And so Riley, of course, engineer, can explain it much greater detail as far as what justifies a road diet and a roundabout in this area. But we felt with the WAMPO funds coming available here that we already have in the TIP plan and the MTP plan with WAMPO, that now is the time to look at this intersection because of the funding sources and the cost share that we'll be able to do towards this project. 69th and Meridian, probably in my 2 years now that I've been here, has been the most talked about intersection as far as dangerous traffic. Recently, I think within the last 3 days, we've had 2 accidents there. And so, I mean, this is a major issue, especially right now. I think we're seeing a lot more traffic, of course, with our detours around the community. We're seeing what the potential increase in our population is going to cause when it comes to using this intersection when people are traveling north, south, east, and west. So I'll turn it over to Riley. That was a long introduction, but here's Riley with PDC.
And before you sit, there is a couple people that want to speak to this item, just to let them know that this isn't the first time we're actually hearing this officially. And after they're all done, we will let you speak, just so the 2 of you that are here that want to speak to it. So go ahead, Riley.
So as Brent was mentioning, we were requested to consider a roundabout and a road diet to the north.
I can't hear you.
Louder.
Is better. There we go. As Brent was mentioning, we were asked to look at a roundabout at this intersection as well as a road diet to the north. The considerations of that request were potential right turn movements, as Brent mentioned, northbound to eastbound to going to the Amazon facility. The other consideration was potential number of crashes that are currently occurring at this intersection. We have requested the crash data, but have not received that yet, so I cannot verify exactly what those numbers are at this time. The roundabouts in general allow your entry speeds and your exit speeds to cut way down, so they become a safer intersection. So most roundabouts are designed to allow for an entry speed under 25 miles per hour, and then same with the exit speed. So right now, existing condition is signed for 45-mile-per-hour speed limit through there, which you can imagine what that can do to a crash, the severity of a crash and fatality concern. The other consideration with roundabouts is that they allow for more of a side swipe type crash versus a full-on T collision. So again, severity and fatality concerns of those crashes. Roundabouts initially up front have a higher cost than like a traffic signal would, but over time, the cost effectiveness of a roundabout is better because it has less maintenance and electricity to provide for the roundabout, as well as the economic issue of vehicles coming to a stop and having to burn fuel while they're waiting to go through the signal. This is not currently signalized, and I realize that, but that may be one of the other considerations here. The thing that is not considered in that also allows for it to be more economical is the type of collisions. If you have a full-on blown T collision, the type of crash is more severe and more costly to the owners of those vehicles versus a side swipe. So that's it for the roundabout. Special consideration for this one is the bridge on the west side of the intersection. We would have to put protection barrier up there and have that tapered down and modified appropriately. This would also require right-of-way take on a couple of the corners, as well as utility adjustments. Heading to the north, going to a road diet. Road diet considerations for this location, as you all are aware, we already had one on Meridian through town here. For this section of road, the volumes are similar, so the experience would be similar as well. The big item of concern through this section is the number of residential entrances and those left turns to those properties. So with this, it would have a dedicated left turn lane to get those vehicles out of the way and help prevent some of those crashes. It won't completely prevent all of them, but help reduce the number of them. Road diets are also more of a traffic calming item as well. So existing speed limit again is 45 mile per hour. We would suggest reducing that speed for a road diet, but road diets in general help to calm traffic. So those are the considerations going into this concept. Cost-wise, we looked at several different concepts. So roundabout with asphalt, all the way to the north, roundabout with concrete all the way to the north, roundabout 3-lane asphalt all the way to the north, roundabout concrete 3-lane all the way to the north versus roundabout concrete 3-lane all the way to the north and roundabout concrete 4-lane all the way to the north. So the difference in cost between a 3-lane and a 4-lane option for this project with the roundabout are actually very similar. And that's because with the 4-lane option, we're looking at holding the curb on the east side of the properties and the driveways and not impacting storm sewer. If we cut it down to a 3-lane, we'll have to redo all that on the east side as well as some of the storm sewer items. So your costs come up versus 4-lane. With the roundabout, it appears that with that option, it adds about $750,000 in comparison. WAMPO right now is considering additional costs on projects and taking in new applications. So this is all being considered as we go. the thought tonight is just to get discussion going, get council's opinion of direction of what they would like us to do. And we're at the mercy of the decision. So questions?
I will, we're going to defer your questions to him until we listen to what the public has to say. So at this time, Mr. Hawkins. Mr. Hawkins, I know I have it here, but could you just make sure you state your name and your address before you speak? Can we come up to the podium?
Glenn Hawkins, and I live on 1004 Northwest Wind, and my concern is on the traffic circle. I say that it's very confusing, especially to older drivers. As you're driving around the city, I notice like over on off of Greenwich Road, they have a couple traffic circles or roundabouts, as you call them. They're very confusing because people, they don't know whether, well, is this guy going to go around and go straight ahead, or is he going to? They're confused. And so it does disrupt the traffic as I see it. If you really want to control the traffic, why don't you just put a traffic signal down there? And then if your concern is 69th, are you going to upgrade 69th Street for all this increased traffic?
I don't think 69th Street is in, is 69th Street in a?
No, that's the county.
That's right, okay. So.
Okay. And as our city grows, I've lived here for 42 years, and as I've traveled Meridian, I remember when Meridian was 4-lane down to 69th, and we went 2-lane till they finally widened it. And our traffic has increased exponentially, and as our city grows, it's going to increase more. So why do we want to go from a 4-lane street down to a 3-lane street? Traffic circle or roundabout? Okay, I know that we own the property on the corner of 69th on the west side. I don't know about on the east side, but you're going to have to buy right away to enlarge that area. And I think our money could be spent a lot better on repairing our city streets, because there's only about 4 or 5 streets in the city of Valley Center that are what you call smooth. The rest of them are in terrible shape. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dessenberger. Again, I'm going to ask the same thing. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, City Council and Mayor. Joe Dessenberger, 453 North Valley Creek Drive. First of all, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for your service to our community. As volunteers who have taken the burden of attempting to determine what is best for our community in a financially responsible manner, you have a difficult job that is often thankless. You embody the spirit of Woodrow Wilson's 1910 speech, "The Man in the Arena," every time you make a difficult decision for our community, and for that I commend you. I'm here this evening as a result of previewing the agenda for this evening's meeting. I think I'm probably one of a few citizens in this community that do that. I think most don't. Under new business, the discussion here is about the creation of a 3-lane road diet, which is a new term I've just learned this evening. This is obviously a unique approach, this discussion tonight with the roundabout. But before I start, I should state that I have extensive experience on the enforcement side of traffic, working for 22 years with the Wichita Police Department, where I have since retired, working both as a traffic section commander and as the captain over fatal accident follow-up. So I do understand the dangers that exist at 69th and Meridian, and I've seen a few of those accidents myself. So this experience that I have in my background helps me visualize the practical application of what we are seeing in the design up here in congested traffic situations. One of the likely factors behind this evening's proposal, I thought coming into this, was the cost to reconstruct Meridian as a 4-lane road, but I just heard that it's really cost neutral whether we stay 4 lanes or go 3. So we'll take that off the plate. The other factor obviously is the safety at 69th, and I'm definitely concerned with that as well. I have teenage drivers that utilize that intersection. And both of these factors should be looked at with due consideration. In addition, other factors like the already difficult to navigate intersection of Ford and Meridian, will most certainly be impacted by such a design, especially for drivers trying to navigate a left turn from Ford to go onto Meridian to go south during heavy traffic congestion. I, for one, am not opposed to the idea of a roundabout at 69th and Meridian. However, there is no need to reduce Meridian down to one lane for a roundabout designed to be successful. While there are no local examples of multi-lane roundabouts to be in this area, there are a number of examples in the suburban Kansas City area. Lenexa, where my daughter lives and I visit frequently, they have a number of multi-lane traffic circles where they have much heavier traffic flow. And those traffic circles are very conducive to keeping traffic flowing in all directions once people get used to them. Multi-lane roundabout should be considered in lieu of a single lane roundabout. In addition, a reworked traditional intersection with protected left turn signal turn lanes at 69th Street should also be studied as an option. I have deep concerns with the proposal to reduce Meridian to a single lane of traffic in each direction with a turn lane for the mile-long section in Valley Center. I still remember when Meridian was a single lane from 45th all the way to 69th. Many of the council members and people in this room probably weren't here back then, but there are a few. Back when the Moorings was a fledgling community, and it was really the only development all the way from 45th Street up to where the Valley Center city limits started there at the 4-lane. Back in 1990 or so, the Sedgwick County widened that section of road, and I got to admit that had they not done that, the woman that I was dating at the time up here, and I may not have gotten married because I was getting very frustrated with the 2-lane road. With the 2-lane road from 45th to 69th, traffic congestion was extremely heavy. If you got behind slow drivers, you couldn't get around them. You also had significant delays in traffic. So widening the road is probably why I continued to date my wife, to be honest with you. A proposed turn lane does help with the left-hand turns. However, it does nothing for right-hand turns. And if you look at the map along there, there's a number of driveways and businesses where people will be making right-hand turns. In fact, under this proposal, during heavy traffic times, long lines of single-lane traffic during evening rush or morning rush with people making right-hand turns will actually slow the entire line of traffic to well below the speed limit before people speed up. You've all been in those daisy chains. Valley Center is on the verge of seeing significant economic development, and now is not the time to consider making the only 4-lane road into a 2-lane road. Just this year, the City Council has taken steps to develop an additional 554 residential lots for single-family homes east of Meridian. This includes 432 in Prairie Lakes, 95 in Hidden Valley, and 27 in the Dill development. See, people do pay attention to what you do. In addition, commercial space is planned for 85th and Seneca, and there's prime commercial land ready for development along Meridian south of the old Leakers building. And currently builders are preparing to turn the old Leakers property into a retail lumber outlet, which will see an increase in truck and automobile traffic. Taking into account that we have a significant number of new homes planned for development east of Meridian, a major concern comes with the intersection of Ford and Meridian, where it is already very difficult to make a left-hand turn to go south. If Meridian becomes a single-lane road at that location, combined with sizable traffic load increase due to the many new residents working either south or west where they have to use Meridian, the steady stream of single-lane traffic during the rush hours, morning and evening, will result in a dangerous situation as people try to dart out into long streams of traffic. We have all seen what traffic can be like when trying to make a left turn now just outside this building in this 3-lane section during heavy traffic times. I'm hopeful as you study this proposal and you look towards the future growth of Valley Center and the need for improving traffic flow into and out of the city. If the major concern is budget, I think most Valley Center residents would concur that waiting a year or two longer to construct the right solution is far better than trying to build a project that can fit a current budget number. And I understand that WAMPO funding is involved, and I understand that process. At minimum, I request that the council utilize an independent third-party consultant to study the likely effects of this proposal if it moves forward. The study would be a wise investment in helping to spell out all the effects such a proposal could bring. And if we do not get this right now, the long-term cost for this community will be much larger. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have one more person, Mr. Jacobs. Again, I will say, please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, Steve Jacobs, 2609 Bent Bay. So I don't live inside the city limits of Valley Center, but I'm a lifelong Valley Center resident. Grew up here, went to high school here. Joe and I, his daughters, played sports together. I think he put the situation very well. I mean, to me, it's real simple. Mr. Clark even mentioned how traffic is increasing along Meridian. How can you justify going from 4 lanes to 3 lanes? That's what I don't understand. Like I say, I've been here a long time. It's always been 4 lane there. I just don't get how you can reduce a lane, especially when I think there are real estate developments coming into that area. I know there's things planned along Ford, which Joe pointed out. It's going to make it more difficult getting into the reduced laneage there. I just don't get it, how you can go from 4 lane to 3 lane, especially when it's cost neutral, close to it apparently. So that's about all I have to say. I don't know if I'm allowed to say anything about the mill levy.
Not on this subject, sir. I mean,
Understood.
just the rules. Personally, I would say go ahead, but no, I don't.
Totally understand.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, council, I will open this up for questions to you. I do want to make one comment, and the one thing that did bother me was going to the road diet on this situation. So I just want to let that out, that was the one thing I had concerns with. Councilmember Gregory, I knew you were going to speak, so go ahead.
As I understand this, that Meridian south of 69th Street is going to continue to be 4 lanes?
Yes,
Is
that's
that
correct.
correct?
To tie into the existing, where the county maintains south of that intersection.
And you're proposing just a single lane roundabout?
Yes, that's based on the volumes that are expected for current and future proposed. As this gentleman, I didn't catch your name, Joe, as Joe indicated, there are options for multi-lane roundabouts. Those are typically used in locations where the volumes are much greater. And as Glenn mentioned, it may be more confusing for people to drive around something of that nature. It's not something that's seen around here, but it is seen in other locations.
Councilmember, before I let Councilmember stand, and for those of you that may have never been over there, the development over on Greenwich, there were Trader Joe's and all that do have dual laned roundabouts. And I know I get confused with them. I mean, I know that if I'm going to go past the first one, I usually get into the second lane, or if I'm going to go around, but I do find a multi-lane roundabout's a bit confusing, way more confusing than a single lane roundabout. But that was my comment on that. Councilmember Stam.
Yeah, I just went through a double lane roundabout the county just done at Rose Hill Road and 79th.
Oh,
maybe.
way south. Okay.
And I thought it was marked pretty well. Again, you got to keep up with your markings so people understand that stuff. I'm not a fan of the, as you call it, diet. I don't like this diet out here. I wasn't on council when that was approved. And like many people have said, it's hard to get out to make a left-hand turn. If there's a string of cars, you're waiting, and builder's choice, semis coming in out there, that's going to be difficult. I'd rather see it stay 4 lane and do the roundabout.
Yep.
Oh, one other thing. When you've done the roundabout, usually that's caused by crash study. If you haven't seen the crash study yet, how does this justify?
So tonight, we're just showing the concept. If the city wants us to look into it further, we sure can. But yes, crash study is an important piece of all this. Like I said, we're still waiting on that information from the county and don't have that in hand yet. I think the reason we're wanting to show it tonight is because of the schedule for funding. WAMPO is looking for applications specifically this month.
Is the county pushing us to do the roundabout, or is it kind of our decision?
No, this is, why we bring it up like this. That's why I love local government. You put it on the agenda and you have a good discussion. and we get direction then from you as the mayor and council and the governing body to see what direction. And I love seeing people in the audience and the passion behind making these decisions. And so that's why tonight's really for discussion. What direction should we go? We wanted to make sure to explore all options and making sure that we don't just put back the same if that's not what we want. And if we want the same, that's no problem at all. Or if we want to explore the roundabout, we're like, hey, that's a good idea. And then let's open it back up to the 4-lane. Let's leave the right turn lane free at the roundabout, but then open up to the 4 and do 1-lane roundabout. We're looking for direction. Because this is a major decision that will have implications for future generations, like were mentioned tonight. So that's what we're here for tonight, is to make a good conversation and discussion, and then have PEC give them direction to see what direction we should go forward. So it's kind of an open forum, and I love the dialogue, and especially from the public.
Councilmember Anderson.
I have a few questions and a couple of comments. One, I had a few people ask me to ask some questions. One of them was answered by looking a little closer. It had to do with the fuel distribution center. And there was actually I don't know if we can zoom in on it. There was a description on there. Regardless of what we do, I think there was some need to, some question about maybe enhancing the safety of that turn in.
Yes.
And I actually emailed the person that asked me back, or texted them back a picture of that. I love having that. I assume that's an extra lane cut in there
Right.
for a turn.
And that's under consideration.
Okay.
That
Regardless of what we go to, I love that idea, because those trucks, with the upgrade that they've done with that facility, it's still a little rough, and I know people have trouble with those big trucks and
Right.
going around them. Question I had was about with the proposal, the roundabout. What would the speed limit reduction be going into that?
So roundabouts that, like this one we're doing at 77th, it will be cautioned for 15 mile per hour. Like I said, we still run the fastest paths, it's called, the movements through the roundabout, which is designed to allow under 25 mile per hour speed limit. But once you enter the roundabout, that speed is reduced to between 15 and 20 mile per hour maximum.
Okay. I would like to see what our traffic counts are, and I don't know what the position is of us being able to do a traffic count, not a study, but a count of those 4 directions coming across the bridge from the west, from the east, and then on Meridian, both directions. In my brain, what would be the best is to leave it 4-lane, but I'm afraid of a roundabout, especially if we go to a 4-lane, what Glenn brought up about having just a regular, if we cut it to a 2-lane, it's going to be confusing enough. And I think with the traffic, with the speed limit reduction, is going to cause a huge issue.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see a traffic light, because I think you can leave it, it's a censored light that most of the time north-south would be green. And only until someone came up from the west or the east that would stop it, that would turn it red and have your turn lanes.
Right.
To me, that makes the most sense. I think we've got to do something. We can't leave it as a 2-way stop. It's too dangerous. And especially with our increased population and now all of our industrial stuff, we've got, Builders Plus going in, all the Amazon stuff, just increased people. We've got to do something there, but I'm not sure that a roundabout's going to be the right solution in such a congested area. But that would be I would like to see what our traffic count is on the number of people coming from the east and the west, and then maybe what that would cause on a traffic light, how often it would be going to red for the north-south traffic. Because I think there's some places that could use these, that, if you leave it green all the time and make it censored, that it's going to not impede that traffic hardly at all.
Great suggestions. And actually, the wonderful thing is we recently, I think 2019 or 2020, I can't remember when they came in, purchased brand new traffic counters for the city. And so we will absolutely have those. We did do a traffic count on that section of road, is when we were trying to figure out how they worked, because they're a lot different than our 1960 ones. And so the upgrade, I don't think we understood what the numbers meant or counted it correctly. So we can lay those back out Absolutely. Those are things that, we like to do in-house, and no offense to PC and the engineers, paying engineers to do that when we have staff.
I would just love to see,
Not if we have the equipment, no.
I would just love to see what our actual and updated, because any data we have is not going to be current. Anything we have of the number of people coming east and west across that intersection. And I know the biggest safety hazard is a left turn onto 69th and the people coming from the south heading north. And that seems to be a lot of the broadside collisions that I've seen, accidents when they've had pictures and things. So.
And I think the last one that was done by KDOT, had this roughly around the 8,000 mark. Daily traffic was roughly, if I recall, from a few years back. But yes, that's absolutely information that we can gather as we proceed forward.
And I would also be afraid of what it would do to the industrial trucking traffic that's coming through there, because we're going to have additional, even if it's not full-size semis, you're going to have a lot of additional contractor traffic with trailers coming into Builders Plus. I like having this discussion. I think it's very healthy for this, but I think we need to look at all the options and see what's going to be best for our community.
Absolutely. And, the roundabout on 77th on Broadway, that one's going to be, it's designed, not going to be, it's done. But the design is for, over 134 semis daily that Amazon's facility is scheduled or planned for. I know Councilmember Colbert, being a former trucker, maybe has some insight in that, but yes, those are things that need to be considered during the design if we decide to go this route.
And I think the majority of that, the way they're designing it, is going to be right turn. Coming from the south, turning right to go to the highway. I think that's the way they've designed it. They're coming off, getting in, going back.
For 77th, you're talking
Yeah.
about? Yes.
So that whole roundabout is being tailored to their truck traffic, which is going to be the large majority of that traffic on that intersection is going to be right turn.
Right.
So that totally makes sense of why they're doing that.
Yeah. And
But I think we've got to look at what best suits our community.
right.
So.
Yep. Something I will point out is if traffic counts are taken, part of what they will not show is the potential additional traffic that will be caused by Amazon, since that facility is not opened yet. We can calculate that. That's not in the scope of this project at the moment, but if it's something the city wants, we can provide.
Thank you.
Councilmember Kerstetter.
Mr. Anderson, I agree with you. I don't think this is a good idea. I'm not a fan of roundabouts to begin with. I'm throwing that out there like I had before, and I think that the traffic light would be better suited, and then make the north-south lanes like wider so we can have a dedicated right turn lane going north to 69th Street. And then we can have turn lanes left going to 69th Street and left going west on 69th. So I'm basically make the intersection wider to accommodate more traffic, because we don't know how many people Amazon's going to bring, but we could maybe add 20-30% to our traffic counts. And then what about a traffic study? What would that, and beyond the counts, what's the difference between doing a traffic count and then a traffic study that somebody threw out?
So the count would only show current existing conditions.
And then we can take that and add 30-50% or whatever number we want to throw out there.
So the study looks at the facilities that have been recently added or the current facilities around, and then takes into account the footprint, what type of facility it is, what number of vehicles based on assumptions could be potentially added. I think because the stoplight has been brought up already. The one thing that might help with that discussion is once we have the crash data, because if it's a rear end collision for southbound traffic or northbound traffic where people are slowing down to make those turns, having a traffic light there may not help that situation. But like you mentioned, if we can widen the roadway itself and add those turn lanes, potentially that could help solve some of the problem.
I had something else and it left me. Sorry, I didn't write it down.
Okay. Well, Councilmember Colbert.
Yeah, I got a few questions. First of all, have you had a study done in conjunction to this planning here from KDOT?
Did this location?
Yes.
Just the existing counts that are available to us. No actual study, no.
No actual study.
No.
Was there any recommendations between a roundabout and stoplight?
And a stoplight, we're taking the recommendation from the city of what we should consider a stoplight has not been one of those items at this moment. We can look at that, but it has not been considered at this point.
You know, the only concern I have is most of the people in here will agree, traffic on that road, it may be 40 miles an hour, but the traffic doesn't do 40 miles an hour.
Right.
It's heavier. This would slow the traffic down considerably on there. You have an increasing chance of more rear end accidents by doing that. I hate to say it, but that's what it looks like.
Right.
For heavy traffic coming through there, the right turns for the big trucks, yes, that's an ideal plan for them on that. Going into the petrol lot down here, that would be giving those guys an easier time to make the turns because people are aware that when that truck goes in there, they're going to pull into that left lane to get a wider turn. If they have their separate lanes, that's already programmed in there that they can do it. Coming out of the place would be the same thing. So there's a bunch of pros and there's a bunch of cons against this diagram. But the thing that really bothers me is you're reducing it down to 3 lanes. And that center lane, if people are traveling what they're going to travel, you're asking for rear end action all the way up and down that road for the simple reason people making left-hand turns going into their housing area or what have you.
Right.
Now on, to be the left. But on the right-hand side of it, on the east side of it, you don't have that problem as much. But coming down or going up, you're going to have traffic coming and using that center lane to make the turn. How many of them are going to be straight faced?
Right. They have to get in there prior to getting to that point. But yes, there's that potential that people come in there cockeyed and don't actually get off the road.
Yeah. Well, that's where to me, the roundabout would be effective because your traffic slowed down considerably.
Yep.
On there. The other thing that I have, I think this would be appropriate time to bring up the expression of some of the other residents in the city. I have an email. I'm sure each one of you have a copy from Miss Lindsay Stillwell, and I'd like to introduce this as their comments for the council to consider. She is against the 3-lane road, prefers the 4th lane. One other on that there, do we have to have a separate motion on that, or you want to?
It's part of the record already, council member.
Okay.
Since it was handed out to us, it'll be part of the record.
Okay. She also expressed the developments she was worried about, or she was glad there's a fantastic industrial development for the stability of our city. That's true. It's going to increase, a lot of business and jobs around in this area. I also have another one that I didn't bring because the individual made the remarks to me on the 4th of July of all times to do it. But they are not in favor of any change on Meridian. From what I gather, they do extensive traveling from what she was talking about. I'm just hoping by the next meeting we get some more input from the citizens in town. They got to remember, we're up here, we make a decision. But if we don't have everybody's Q&A questions taken care of, don't complain later. Because if you don't take part of it, then what are we supposed to do?
Right.
That's all I have.
Councilmember Wilson.
Well, right off the bat, I would have liked to have seen a couple of other concept drawings brought tonight besides just one. I think there's ample opportunity there for multiple different types of intersections that we could have looked at. I think that would have maybe gone over a little bit better with the citizens of not seeing just one drawing and thinking that was kind of the go-to plan. Granted, it is just a start, but still, it would have been nice to see some other concepts. I drive 69 through the north end of Joplin and Webb City. Both of those cities have a 6-lane or 3-lane on each side of the circle that works just fine. These are highway speeds at 50 and 45 mile an hour that come into these circles. They work just fine. Do I think that the single lane here is a good idea? No, absolutely not. This whole traffic diet is going to choke off the south end of our town for any type of commercial growth. I do believe that we need to think about keeping it to a 4-lane, whether that's going into a full 4-lane circle or also going into an intersection, maybe even with a light and designated left-hand turn signals. Granted, the cost is going to go up if we're going to be expanding that road in that area to create a left-hand turn signal. I think traffic studies would help to see whether it's, needs to have a left-hand turn signal on both sides going north and southbound. But I do believe that that may even be a better option. Just talking with the citizens, the roundabout's not probably the way to go. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Kerstetter.
I wrote down my question. This is a shared intersection, correct? So no, it's our intersection completely?
Mm-mm.
No, it's 100% county, sir.
What's that?
100% county intersection.
Okay. So why are we discussing this again?
Because it affects us.
Okay.
It is a part of our WAMPO project.
Okay.
And then they're going to help, financially, and then also like they are on 4th Street, potentially with some construction inspection, some of those types of
So
things.
if we would prefer a streetlight, or the studies that would like to see say streetlight's a better option, who's going to pay for that electricity and all that infrastructure? Would it be a joint effort, or would it be
Discussion with the county, most
okay?
likely.
Okay. Next question I have is for either one of you: timing on construction now. Are we, because somebody said something about WAMPO funding that's
Just
going
hold on a second. I think we've gotten really carried away on this.
Oh.
This is not a project. This was an idea that was brought to us for direction. And the only reason it was brought to us is because we do have some WAMPO money. The way I see it is we have a couple choices. We could just say, we'll deal with it in the next CIP, or we can go ahead and give them direction is to bring us back street light process, lighting, or traffic control light options as well. Or like I said, we can leave it just the way it is and talk about it sometime in the future. So I was listening to the conversations, and I think we got way farther ahead than we were supposed to be at this point. There was a couple things I did make notes of. First of all, obviously the road diet is not going to fly. Okay. So that, and what else? I would personally wait and suggest that we wait and see how the roundabouts at Ford and Broadway and 61st and Broadway are dealt with before we go into it, because I'm not sure if you all realize that, but there is another one going at 61st and Broadway there too. I agree with Mr. Hawkins. I know it's going to be a difficult adjustment for people to get used to. I agree, because it's been a difficult adjustment for me to get used to. So I think right now they're looking for, do we want to proceed with even more options to us, or do we want to just let it go and talk about it in the future? So that's really what we're looking at right now. And like I said, the only reason it's here is because we have some WAMPO money. So now we'll continue. So you want to continue now, Mr. Kerstetter? Councilman, you do have the floor still. I just wanted to get that out.
It's fine. Timing, are we on track still? If we go with the WAMPO money, are we still on track?
So with this option, we would have to shift schedule. Way it was set up originally, the South Meridian project was supposed to take place first and then North Meridian. When that was all put together then, to be able to get North Meridian built at the same time on a faster pace. North Meridian would still stay on that same schedule, so fall of 2022 is what we're targeting at the moment. And then this, to get all these changes made, we would have to push it towards the end of fiscal year 23. So bid letting then is somewhere around August,
Okay.
September 23.
Roughly the same schedule. Thanks.
Councilmember Colbert.
He stole my thunder. He's already answered the question for me, but one thing I do want to point out, when you're dealing with WAMPO and the money there, we got to be careful that we don't lose it. And WAMPO, there's a good chance you're going to lose if you get too argumentative with them. That's all I have to say.
So let me see if I can recap this and with hopefully get council's answers on these. We've clearly said first of all, we've already clearly said lane diet's out of the question. So what we would like to still see is the crash studies, a road count, or traffic, I mean, not even a full, at this point, not even a full study, just a traffic count of the intersection of each for the streets, and then a proposal of traffic lights or stoplights. And if I got this right, would be widening to put in left-hand turn lanes on Meridian and right-hand turn lanes, or just a left-hand turn lane and leaving the right-hand turn lane to the right side? That was the one part. I think that was what you were discussing. You brought up.
Oh, I heard a 5-lane intersection.
So we want
you would have a right turn lane, 2 that would continue north and south as far as straights, and then a left-hand turn lane separately. Is that correct, Councilman?
For the
Center?
northbound going from South Meridian to 69th Street. So if you're going northbound from.
Well, it would, yeah.
You'd need the right turn lane dedicated for truck traffic is what I was thinking. And then for the Amazon workers, since.
Okay, so yes, so obviously we're talking about left-hand and right-hand turn lanes on Meridian only, not on 69th Street.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Lost my train of thought there.
Huh?
I know. Continue on there.
So do we have that? Is that what it was?
Oh, that's what I was going to suggest. Just so you know, so if we do that traffic count, those numbers will be skewed a little bit, like I said before, because of all the detours that we have going around the community, and with the the BNSF railroad has some work going on 69th Street, if you recall. So right now, 69th Street's actually closed, and so we'll try to have a few days of information for you before the next council meeting. 61st, I'm sorry. 61st Street. A lot of people use 69 to go to 61st on interurban. Sorry.
Well, and actually, I'm thinking the detour might be a good indicator because of the extra amount of traffic that may be flowing, even though it's Seneca's where the detour is supposed to go through, right?
Yes.
So, but yeah.
A lot of people are using.
So just, yeah. So, I mean, so yes, that's what it sounds like.
But yes, we'll get some traffic information and counts to you for the next meeting.
Okay. Are we good with that, council? Is there any other comments? Did I miss anything? All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank
you. All righty. Moving on to the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion is second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries. Thank you. Move on to staff reports. Councilmember Schreck.
Just very quickly wanted to let council aware that the state Department of Water Resources is working on some updates to floodplain maps in Sedgwick County, as well as Harvey and a couple of others. This is part of an ongoing process to use better LIDAR data that shows the topography of land, changes in weather patterns. And so there will be in Sedgwick County a few updates. This is going to take place over the series of the next 1.5 to 2 years. So this is just something to put on your radar in the back burner. And this may affect a couple of our what are called flood insurance rate maps. So these are called firm flood insurance rate map or firm. There are a series of firm panels that encompass every county that has been mapped in the entire country. And a couple of the firm maps that include Valley Center may be updated. So right now it's outside of our city limits, but it is part of our firm panels. And so when, like I said, this is going to be a 1.5 to 2 year project. When those maps finally get to the stage where they have been developed, there will be a series of public meetings. I will be sure to let all of you know when those public meetings will be held. And then once they are adopted, we'll do the same thing that we did back in 2016 when we adopted new floodplain maps for the entire county. That'll be done through an ordinance. And so when we get to that point, if they are affecting our firm panels, then we will do a very slight update. But again, right now right now they're not looking to change any of the floodplain layers inside of our city limits, just inside of our firm panels, which include the surrounding unincorporated area. So I wanted to let council know about that. So when I bring that to you in 1.5 to 2 years, you'll know what I'm talking about. Thank you.
All righty. Mr. Owens is not here. There he is. Chief Newman.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to let you know that Captain Voigt's here tonight with, I believe, a couple of members from his Citizens Police Academy. Didn't want to take up any more time for the group as a whole, but if you have time after the council meeting to introduce yourselves and maybe answer any questions they might have, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Eggleston.
We did get notice that Pearson Construction were moving their milling machine into town. They plan to start milling tomorrow. I'll get a hold of them and see if I can get some sort of a schedule out to them, and we'll do the best we can to keep something on the website. They did assure us that they're going to work from North Meridian 5th and save West Main for last in case that they get into delays and run into school.
Perfect.
Have so far.
Mr. Golko's not here. Mr. Arbuckle's not here. Mr. Smith. Mr. Clark.
I have nothing.
I'm moving on. All right, governing body reports. Well, I'm not sure how the rest of you felt over this 4th of July weekend, but boy, it sure was the loudest one that I've ever lived through here. And it was phenomenal. I mean, you know, I can't imagine how some of these people have spent on fireworks. But if you didn't spend any money on fireworks, all you had to do was probably sit on your driveway, and no matter what angle you looked or what direction you were in, you were seeing some fireworks. And I'm glad it went well. At least in my area, I think people behaved well and that quit mostly on time. I know Saturday it went a little longer, but it was Saturday, and so. But that's all I had. I thought it was a great 4th of July. So, Councilmember Stam.
I have nothing.
Councilmember Anderson.
I have nothing.
Councilmember Gregory.
I have nothing.
And Councilmember Kerstetter.
I have nothing either.
Councilmember Wilson.
Ditto as the others.
And Councilmember Colbert.
I got 2 things. You guys ain't getting away.
It's all right. It's all right.
First of all, the Department of Transportation has sent a notice out that on projects for construction on the transportation is going to be here in Wichita at the North Central for Aviation Training Hangar Building 300 on Webb Road this coming July 7th at 1 p.m. with refreshments to follow. If anybody wants to know what's going on with the new Ike program is what they call it, that would be an ideal time to get on and check out the presentation on that. Is the first thing. The second one is somebody sent me a package looking at the infrastructure proposal for the coming year on a national level, not local level. So if anybody's interested, I got a copy of it. Take a look at it. There was something else I wanted to bring up too, and I can't remember it. Well, it doesn't matter. If there's no other business before the council, I make a motion that the meeting be adjourned.
Second. Wow. It's like, okay, somebody's got to second that. We had a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.
I was waiting on Rob here and he just waited and waited.
I was leaned back. I was coming back up.